Good evening, good evening, good evening. We are back. And boy, doesn't it feel good. Well, it's time. Part 3. I can't believe we're up to that many parts of the Kirk Conspiracy. And there, unfortunately, is so much. So let's get started with the first video.
This whole thing with Erika Kirk keeps getting crazier.
Do you think they've caught your husband's killer?
So, something I'm so grateful for is that we have one of the most incredible teams for this case.
Why wouldn't she just say yes? Her response was, don't fault the FBI for not being transparent. They slapped gag orders on 3,000 witnesses. I truly hope Candace Owens speaks on this, because what we're seeing from Erika in this interview isn't grief. 30-06 doesn't stop in someone's neck. They want us to believe that a miracle stopped it. The official narrative is inconsistent with reality, and she's part of the cover-up. Her body language does not align with being at fear for your life, wearing white to your husband's memorial. She's focusing on Turning Point and the mission to keep the public off uncomfortable questions. She has aligned with the FBI. She's letting powerful circles know that she's on their side, and she won't question the official narrative. Until there's real transparency, people are going to keep looking for the truth themselves.
I have been wondering why outside of the video that we've a good bit of us have seen of his last moments, of Charlie Kirk actually being shot, why there wasn't any additional footage. Anytime he does an appearance on college campuses, there's so many different vantage points that are posted all over social media. People like to share the fact that they saw Charlie Kirk, that, whether they like him or they went, in protest. And I was wondering, also, it is very odd that Candace Owens publicly is the only one asking questions. I don't know if his parents are requesting any information. We previously looked at footage of his parents at a private ceremony where Erika had people obviously recording to put the footage out, where she was putting on a performance. Even then, it didn't appear, let me say that, it didn't appear that she was genuinely grieving. So it's odd. And there's no effort being put into it. Just like the only effort that was put into the infamous assassination attempt into Trump was the effort to clean up everything. Like the suspect was allowed to be cremated. But Chad, I guess they like it, we love it. Next video.
Just this morning, Candace Owens released irrefutable evidence and documentation that Charlie Kirk and Erika Kirk filed for a disillusionment of marriage 2 days before his assassination. There are actual text messages back and forth between Erika and Charlie discussing.
Now, this, we're going to say rumor for now, has been swirling about for a while now. There was a lot of speculation leading up that they were separated, that they were moving towards dissolving their marriage, which is, if true, or even if not true, why is no one questioning it? Because what's the number one rule of investigating the death of a spouse, whether public death or they always look at the spouse first. They always look at the person's counterpart first. And is it one of those situations where it was a War of the Roses situation? It's like, okay, he's died. Now I have to put on this front and act like I still cared about him. Like it is, personally to me, it is okay to say, you know what? We weren't at the best of terms. I am sad at his passing. We do share children, and move on. But this intentional, it's weird. It's weird. Also, I want to mention that it's being stated that allegedly Pam Bondi and Erika Kirk were in the same beauty pageant / talent agency that Trump owned in the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Someone went to Barron's live stream and said, hey, would you look up Mikey McCoy stuff and see if anyone's been searching Mikey McCoy? And lo and behold, there's a Google trend showing that on the 14th of July, someone in Israel searched for Mikey McCoy. That's interesting. But then, on August 15th, Mikey McCoy was searched in the Cayman Islands, which is weird. And then, on September 6th, 4 days before the assassination, someone in Israel searched Mikey McCoy's home address verbatim. Like street, like house number, street name, complete. Very specific search in Israel. All that is very weird. And you can go back to Barron's streams and watch them for yourself. I highly recommend that you do that to see the process for yourself and to validate and see exactly how that search was done, to get a little context on it. But that's all very strange. And to clarify, when Barron does these searches, he also shows, he'll show that same search in New York and California and Arizona and the United Kingdom and Australia to show you that all these other places, no searches. But then in these places, searches, which is all very weird. And so this is where I started to realize that putting all these searches onto a timeline might tell us something.
There is, in the discussions surrounding the various conspiracies that people are having regarding the Kirks, there's a lot of talk about Israel. There are people who are presumably finding a lot of connections. Like a lot. I'm not leaning towards Israel really having, Israel has bigger fish to fry right now. And Charlie Kirk, people are making it seem like now in death, while he was alive, he had way more political influence than he did. He was the political mouthpiece for other people. People had control over him, literally. That was essentially his business plan. So I'm a little sketchy on that one. Let's take a look at the next one.
Yo, I just rewatched that Erika Kirk video where she was really cravenly discussing her husband's corpse, saying there was tons of video, we filmed everything, he's going to be here for years and years, buckle up, and then gave an evil smile. Well, I just learned that Utah requires for every violent assassination or murder, they require an autopsy that can't be signed away by law. The wife can't refuse it for religious reasons. It is what is done by the state. And yet, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, there was no autopsy. But there was a medical examiner in the media talking about how the projectile firearm weapon, I don't want to say what it is, stayed under his skin in the body and was retained. But if that's the case, how are they going to do ballistics? What is happening here? This is some JFK shit. None of this makes any fucking sense, and I want to know who the fuck's behind it. Bong.
It's amazing that they're expecting the general public to believe that essentially his skin is like bulletproof. The bullet pierced him, and you want us to believe that it just broke through the skin and decided to stay there? And let's say for shits and giggles that it didn't pass through. When he presumably got to the hospital, say the doctors were able to extract it. Why not just say that? Also, is this why Utah's governor postured the way that he did at those press conferences? Because he came across as if he was this grandeur hero. And would it have been his call to circumvent the law regarding that? And once again, why not just let it happen? Why not just let the autopsy occur? Because if this is a cover-up, nobody's good at it. I think they need to watch a couple episodes of Scandal. I don't know.
Telling micro lies, tiny little misrepresentations, tiny little half-truths that right out of the gate seems altogether unnecessary. It really makes me wonder, who are they protecting exactly? You'll see oftentimes they and other influencers will invoke Erika as the reason that it's not appropriate to ask questions. It's just not appropriate while Erika is still mourning for you guys to ask any questions. And I'm just going to come back at you with some common sense. What sort of widow wouldn't want people to investigate the assassination of their husband? She has not explicitly said that, but the influencers are invoking that, right? They're invoking like it's not appropriate right now for people to be asking questions. That's what I mean when I say they are David hogging us, okay? You could also use another example, somebody that was on the right, Kyle Kashuv. What essentially means is that when a tragedy takes place and we are emotional, our emotions are raw, me especially, I think this was the first time where I couldn't really check my
Well, at least somebody's emotions were raw when it came to Charlie. At least somebody, one person. I'm happy for that for him. But there are a lot of lies coming out of that sphere of people that were close to him in his final days, those people that were there in his final moments. I keep going back to Mikey's father, the pastor, and his recollection of, his son calling right after, Charlie was shot, and then him saying, oh, he was covered in blood and he was doing everything. And then Erika Kirk thanking first responders when there were no first responders. And for those that think that I'm speculating, we already previously went over that footage in the videos regarding all of that. It's odd. It's odd. And it's very interesting that those doing the most dissecting of this are the ones that originally called for people to lose their jobs, lose their scholarships, lose their placements in higher education because they weren't snot sobbing over the death of Charlie Kirk. The grift is definitely being overplayed. But let's continue.
Well, one of Charlie Kirk's last company-wide directives was to carry out a Doge-style audit at Turning Point USA. He confided that there were significant money problems, possible embezzlement, maybe fraud. He wanted to get to the bottom of it. Why were they burning through cash so quickly? It seems odd. Here's the memo that he sent to staff just 8 days before he was assassinated on September 2nd. He wrote this. And he lays out in this memo his plans for the audit. He tasked his new COO, Justin Steroff, with assembling a team to boost efficiency, cut costs, align metrics, reshape the company culture. Insiders knew that what was going on, and they said that Charlie was concerned about how they were burning through so much cash so quickly. Where was all this money coming from? And by the way, where was it all going? Was it being spent on vendors, like ridiculous amounts for vendors at different live events? Like, where was all this money going? Then right after his death, Investigative journalist Brian Ferentz, then this, right after his death, Brian Ferentz wrote this. Investigative journalist Brian Ferentz said, maybe we should be transparent about the TP USA donor list, what foreign countries they represent, where the money went, and why Tyler Boyer canceled the Doge-style audit and culture change Charlie Kirk ordered as his last wishes. Yeah, why would Tyler Boyer cancel Charlie's final big wish? Like a big company-wide directive. It's kind of odd, isn't it? To audit all of this funny money, wouldn't you want to get to the bottom of that? It's not just investigative journalists like Brian asking these questions. Now dozens of longtime TPUSA donors are asking and saying the very same thing. They've been making public statements about it online. They're pulling their donations because they smell something funny going on here, and they want answers. They want answers about Charlie's death. They want answers about the money, where it was going, where it was coming from, all of that. Journalist Brian Ferentz is back on the show. And it's great to have you back, Brian. Thank you. Man, you've really ruffled some feathers.
You're killing it, Guy.
Over there,
I love
man.
it.
Trying to get answers about where all this money is going. Like, people don't want to, Brian, don't ask these questions. Like, you're digging in too deep here. When did you start smelling a rat?
Thanks, Clayton and Natalie, again, for having me on the show. In terms of, when did I start smelling a rat? I think it really goes back to when Tyler Boyer, he was running the Arizona.
Now, the conspiracy theory surrounding this, I can get on board with, but not for the reasons that most people are attaching to this. I think the grandeur that people are creating surrounding Charlie needs to, y'all got to put a pin in it. You really do. You have to put a pin in it. Somebody within the company could have just been stealing money. Have you all forgot about Alex Murdaugh? He was embezzling money from the law firm that he worked at and being funny with the family money. Hence, he killed one son and his wife. There could have been embezzlement going on. There could have been all sorts of things going on. And that's why he was killed. It may have had zero to do with the government, had zero to do with his politics. But we're beginning to become so conditioned to make everything partisan that people are inputting it into that. And once again, people are acting as if Charlie Kirk had more political weight and influence than he did. He didn't. He received marching orders. He wasn't giving them. But 1 + 1 wasn't equal in 2 when it came to those ledgers. So I think that's where the smoking gun may rest, especially given the previous footage that we looked at when those closest to him, they weren't in a panic. Nobody ducked. Nobody really ran for cover from his group. Nobody was like looking back to see where the shooter was. Like nothing. Like to immediately be on the phone, as hate to say it, Candace Owens broke down the last time we convened with one another. It was too quick to even scroll to a contact, hit it, even if you were in the process of, oh, yeah, that's right, I was supposed to contact his wife, or I forgot to check in with my dad or my significant other to tell them that, yeah, we're all set up, and you're going through, like, no. And I also remember the last time we convened, when he held the phone up to, he was already talking. This wasn't I have to wait for the phone to ring. That's weird. So the financial thing, yes. Yes, people divorce and kill for money all the time. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. But here comes the next one. This one's a little bit longer. It's a little over 3 minutes. So you might want to crank up the volume and go get a snack and come back.
Erika Kirk sat down for an exclusive interview on Fox News with Jesse Waters, and there are a couple of key moments that I'm going to take you through, which, after paying very close attention to this investigation and the different arguments from various sources, expose alarming inconsistencies, the biggest of which is what Erika says here about Mikey McCoy, which surprisingly I haven't seen anybody pick up on yet. It's a big one, though. Also, Erika hinted at this case being bigger than just Tyler Robinson and explained what a police officer told her about Charlie the moment that she showed up at the hospital. We'll start there. Before we do, though, and guys, and I hate having to do this, but so many of you guys watch my channel without having subscribed yet. Please do, if you believe in this God-first commentary and fight to keep America one nation under God so that we can remain free to pursue our God-given work and potential. Join me in this movement by subscribing here. I'm Zach Costello. Erika Kirk explained to Jesse Waters here the moment that she arrived at the hospital to see Charlie's body for the first time. Her answer has many suspicious of the police officer that she encountered. Listen to this.
We get into the room. One of the law enforcement guys comes in. It's very sweet, but what do you say to someone whose husband just was assassinated so publicly? I said, I've been doing this for 30-some years. He said, I will never tell you that you cannot see your husband. He said, but I, in my professional opinion, think that you should wait to see him once he's at the mortuary. Because I don't think you want to see him like this. The room got quiet because half the room knew it's probably a good idea. And the other half of the room was like, there is no way she's listening to you right now. And I responded back to him and I said, with all due respect, sir, I said, I want to see what they did to my husband. And I want to give him a kiss because I didn't get to give him a kiss this morning. And I said the same thing to the doctor. When the doctor came in, I said, I want to see my husband. He said, I'll make sure that happens. And I did. And I got to see him. And when we walked into that room, he still looks so alive, because he just, and I'm just so glad I saw him, because you know this, when you see someone pass at the mortuary, they never look the same when they're at the mortuary. They have this awful makeup and they're cold, and he was still warm and his eyes were slightly open. But it was so powerful, Jesse.
I want to see what they did to my husband. Who is they? That is a question. Erika alludes to the fact that this is bigger than just Tyler Robinson here in this next clip. But many are saying that the officer's actions trying to dissuade Erika from seeing Charlie is a red flag. That's not something I'm jumping on board with, though, because, unfortunately, if you've had an experience with a family member...
This is one of those times, and I'm not talking about the gentleman in the video, but this is one of those times where if you don't know and you haven't had this experience, do a little research, talk to some people, because some people are making conspiracies out of regular everyday stuff, and that happens every single day. A lot of these conspiracies pop up because people don't know the order of operations, so to speak. Depending on how someone passes, yes, you can be warned that you may not want to see them that way, that you may want to wait until they're cleaned up a little bit. And in a trauma area where I'm going to go out on a limb and say that he was taken to a trauma room to be worked on. It's messy. There's a lot of blood everywhere. He was shot in the neck, and then her saying his eyes were still open. My thing is, I don't see anything wrong with the police officer. The police officer did his job. And her being a little snarky, that's weird. And noticing the people in the room, because she wasn't like, oh, they gasped when they said something. Why are you looking at the people in the room? Also, retelling seeing your husband at a point where his body was still warm and his eyes were still open. Nobody even got a chance to just close them. And all you're doing is patting your eyes. Like I pat my eyes because my allergies cause my eyes to run a lot, but come on. Now, for those that are like, oh, she has to be a part of this because she said she wanted to see what they did to her husband. Yeah, y'all are showing once again you don't understand how pronouns work. If you don't know at the time the gender of somebody, we all say they. Doesn't mean that multiple people. It doesn't. Like, let's stop stretching. Let's remember our basic understanding, at least, of the English language. And it's not uncommon for someone to lose a loved one and want to see what happened for themselves, for the sake of sometimes it's sinking in and it being reality. Once again, I'm not defending her. I'm not making excuses for her, but you know, that's how it is. That's how it works. Let's be real. Are there reasons to question things? Yes. Are there things that aren't adding up? Absolutely. But let's look at the things that actually do. And once again, I implore you all in all situations, if you haven't been in that situation, if you're not sure how things go, ask. Trust me, I do it all the time, on and offline. I don't know. I'll reach out to people who that's their area of expertise. That's what they do every day. That's what they've experienced, and they've shown that they don't have a problem talking about it. But that's the thing. A lot of times people, especially with this situation, are jumping the gun on things that are actually proper and in order. But we got another clip from Candace Owens.
They just shot Charlie. They just shot Charlie. They just shot Charlie. They just shot Charlie. He's dead. God help him.
That's the first time it was announced, actually, that Charlie Kirk was dead. It's kind of weird. Go ahead, catch your breath, hit rewind, watch it again, watch it over and over again like I did, because you're probably thinking out loud, what the F did I just watch? What's going on? What were Charlie's closest friends and allies and the people that were going to carry on the torch doing? Picking up phone calls they were already on, and filming themselves and prematurely announcing when not a single person could have known that Charlie Kirk is dead. Less than a minute. Declared dead. No instinct to run towards him. No instinct to run further away, maybe because you got to backtrack and go get the cameras a minute after this ends. Is when he goes and gets the cameras, okay?
Once again, one of my biggest questions. No one rendered first aid. No one tried to apply pressure to stop the bleeding. And yes, I understand that people will panic in situations. But even for people who think that if placed into that position that they would panic, there tends to be somebody, whether from the crowd, a stranger, somebody in their circle that would do that. And you would think for somebody who travels around the way that he does, knows the rhetoric, well, the way that he did, and knows the rhetoric that he spews, that there would at least be one or two people on his team that would be doing that. And he had professional security that's supposed to be trained for situations like this. So nobody rendered aid. And what was the point of recording if the vast majority of that video was you recording yourself? Because if you're chronicling the event, we don't need to see your face. And how did you know from such a distance that he was no longer with us. And once again, why wasn't somebody clearing the way for them? Was somebody on the phone saying, hey, we need a police escort, calling campus security or campus security or campus police saying, hey, we'll hit the sirens and get you to the nearest hospital?
So how have we gone from this?
That young man. I forgive him.
Which was the 21st of September, and now 7 days later, we get this.
Nothing is changing, but I want to preface, we're not awkward. We're not like weird.
Cringy.
We're not cringe. We're not going to be tweeting as if it's him. That's tone deaf and really disturbing. And anyone who does that's like morbidly off.
Hey, we're going to be doing about 5 more episodes a week now. So just tell the team and make sure that happens.
3 hours of this, 2 more hours of podcast.
There is just something that just doesn't feel right. It feels wrong. It feels off. And I am trying so hard not to over speculate, but it's hard when stuff like this is being put out to us. It's just not normal. It doesn't feel natural. I feel like we're watching a performance. It's almost like we're watching a movie unfold right in front of our eyes. And it's things like this that make me think that Charlie Kirk's assassination is so much bigger than we could ever imagine.
Genuine question. Why do you think that it's bigger? Why do you think that it's bigger? Like, if you think the wife is involved, if he had any other job, would you think that it was bigger? Or would you just go, she didn't want to split things 50-50 in the divorce? Or this saved her from going through a divorce, and in the eyes of her religion, she can mourn for a bit and move on to who she actually wants to be with. And why is nobody considering that maybe somebody was just didn't want to get caught up in financial crimes? And yes, I realize people mourn differently, but Erika Kirk is not mourning. She's not mourning at all. Candace Owens is mourning.
I am tremendously blessed and honored tonight to be able to introduce to you a very, very dear friend and his wife. They are incredible. And I see no one will ever replace my husband. No. But I do see some similarities of my husband in JD and Vice President JD Vance. I do. And that's why I'm so blessed to be able to introduce him tonight, because he understands the fight that we're up against, and he can articulate that in a way that transcends race, that transcends demographic backgrounds. He's an amazing man. So please help me welcome to the stage Vice President JD Vance.
She's a horrible actress. I can see why she didn't have a long-standing career in it. She does not know what an actual grieving widow looks like, sounds like, and she's trying to come across as endearing, likable, a damsel and a grieving widow, and it's not. She's trying to deliver lines where it seems heartfelt, but her cadence is off. Everything is off because she's not a good actress. Now, I know the whole hug thing, her hugging men has been in an uproar. But I've been thinking about it, going back over a lot of the footage that I've collected for this series. Her hugs are the equivalent to Trump's handshake. It's a power move. And it's also to get people talking. And it's more so a power move to the other women in the room. Now, I will say, two things can be true at one time. I can see why she said that JD Vance reminds her of her late husband. They're both awkward. Neither of them are very likable. And both of them were clamoring to be liked and accepted. And both of them essentially created careers based upon being talking heads and being willing to be molded by wealthier and more influential men. Neither one of them took the time to establish a personality of their own, to establish an identity of their own. That's why it's so easy to convince them to say the things that they say and make the moves that they make. They don't think for themselves, at least not in public. At least not in public. And my personal opinion, I do believe that both JD Vance and Charlie Kirk love their wives. I believe that they felt like they hit the jackpot in the women that they got with. And the reason why I say that is because when one partner, and this seems to happen more with men than with women, feels as if the other partner is above them, is more likable, is more educated or whatever, it kind of gives them a confidence boost. And then that ego takes over and they feel like, I can have anybody, I can do anything. And that's when they want to start changing their partner. Because keep in mind, she comes with the education, she comes with the money, she comes with the connections, all this stuff. And when she's not putting on this act that she has now, she comes with the personality as well. Just like Usha Vance, establish, educate, all these things. But they need to change them because now you need to fit the subservient mold to me, because I need to prove to everybody I'm the alpha, that I'm the man, that I do bring something to the table. Instead of realizing bringing things to the table doesn't mean you bring the equal amount of things. If the main dish is already on the table, why do you need to bring another one? This time around, you might need to bring the sides, or you might need to bring the tablecloth. Because at the end of the day, when you're coming together as a couple, it's to fill that table. Whatever you bring to fill the table is in accordance to your relationship. And that's what I'm saying. And she obviously was getting resentful of this. Obviously, this is why throughout her speech and talking to him, this is why she said she looked at his corpse and he looked so powerful. We saw, those of us that saw the video, his final moments. He didn't go out looking powerful. He rightfully so went out looking terrified. That's a natural human response. Shocked and terrified. This wasn't like he had a long-standing illness where he was slowly dying and he had come to grips with the fact that he was dying and he's like, you know what, I'm at peace with it. No. She's trying to play it up so that her resentment doesn't fully come out. It's my thoughts anyway.
And that's when Mikey started calling me. Called me within seconds.
I called Erika I just remember it rang like 3 or 4 times. I didn't know what to say. Those are the words that will change someone's life forever, and you have to be the one to say it. That was the first time I've ever called her during a campus tour stop.
And so Mikey called me, and I'll never forget him just being like, Charlie's been shot. He's been shot. Get the kids. Get security. Get the kids. Get the kids. He's been shot. I sprinted out of her treatment center. I just collapsed in the middle of the parking lot. I called our security. Yeah. Unbelievable nightmare.
So according to Erika, Mikey called her within seconds. If you might remember that Mikey McCoy has been under a lot of fire for how he reacted less than 1 second after Charlie was shot. He put his phone or his hands to his ears, looks like his phone, and began walking away. People were highly suspicious of this, and we were told by Turning Point USA, executive producer of The Charlie Kirk Show, Andrew Colvette, that Mikey did not make a phone call here. He, in fact, put his hands up over his ears because the shot was very loud. Remember this.
Last thing, because this is part of the video allegations here, is that they think they're alleging that he was on the phone immediately. He was not. He was taking social videos, which he would send to our group chat, which we would then put on Charlie's social while the event was happening, so you could see like the crowd come in or his interactions. And we were only 2 questions into this event, so he was still getting it out to all the chats he needed to do, which he did at every event. He turns around, and it was so blaringly loud, I'm told. You would know this better than I, but this is what I'm told. It was so blaringly loud, and he was so shell-shocked. He put his fingers in his ear, but his phone was still in his hand. He walks away.
Blake Neff, who's also on this Charlie Kirk Show from Turning Point USA, who was right next to Mikey McCoy when the shot rang out, also explained that Mikey McCoy and him separated. It was not until they reconvened after the fact, when he encountered Mikey with his lip quivering, that the phone call was then made to Erika and then to his father, Rob McCoy. Candace Owens came out straight up yesterday and said that this was an inside job. People are suspicious because of inconsistencies and lies like this. Which was it? Was it within seconds, as Erika said? Or was it later after Mikey gathered himself, as Blake said? This can be easily clarified if Mikey McCoy would just release his call logs. That's it. Transparency. Clear your name. Finally, and again, guys, make sure you all subscribe to remain in truth and on the path toward who God made us to be in this life.
Once again, as Candace Owens previously stated, just a bunch of little lies stacking up. But here's my thing. You're the personal assistant to Charlie Kirk. Wouldn't you be the one to have access to his socials? Why would you take the videos? Why add so many steps? Why would you take the videos and send it to other people in group chat? So you're sending it to multiple people at a time for them to then put it on Charlie's social media. He didn't have 50 social medias. And there are apps where you can put one post in and it'll go multiple places. If you're already taking the videos, why not take them directly in the app, put your little caption on, and go on? That makes zero sense. And if you're taking videos, first of all, now I have this on mine where I can slip my hand in it and do it this way. So, sake of argument, we're going to do it this way. You're taking videos or you're sending the message, and then you're going to do like this. You're at a panic. Now, I would still have my phone because it's on here. But if I didn't, and I go to, but even so, it would be like this. In the video, like I said, we visited this in a previous episode. He was like this. And also, if he's such in a panic, why is he walking? Why is he walking? If it was so loud, why not instantly go to the ground and then cover your ears? Why not also cover your head or cover your body? It's curiouser and curiouser and curiouser. Them trying to come up with these different narratives Once again, they're banking on people not knowing the order of operations or just wanting to delude themselves. They want to be delusional about this. And once again, their reactions are more on par with how many people were involved in financial fraud at Turning Point USA. And they're loving the fact that people are creating all of these greater than the government took them out. It was Trump. It was Israel. Whatever it was, it had to do with either their relationship or the company. That's what I'm gathering thus far. This may change as we continue to go through this.
Did Erika Kirk just accidentally expose TPUSA for lying?
How did you find out Charlie had been shot?
Was at my mom's doctor's appointment. I put my phone down and it was on silent, so I had no reason to look back at it. I moved my mom. I went back to grab my phone, and that's when Mikey started calling me. Called me within seconds.
She said that Mikey called her within seconds, which does line up with this clip of Mikey McCoy, Charlie Kirk's chief of staff, picking up his phone as soon as Charlie was shot. We talked about this a couple weeks ago and about how bizarre and weird it was, his reaction, not running, not jumping to Charlie's aid, but instead making an immediate phone call, kind of like he knew that things were about to go down. Not saying he did, but that's what it looked like. And this led to the TPUSA folks responding, saying, no, Mikey was actually not on the phone.
They're alleging that he was on the phone immediately. He was not. He was taking social videos, which he would send to our group chat, which we would then put on Charlie's social while the event was happening, so you could see like the crowd come in or his interactions. And we were only 2 questions into this event, so he was still getting it out to all the chats he needed to do, which he did at every event. He turns around and it was so blaringly loud, I'm told. You would know this better than I, but this is what I'm told. It was so blaringly loud and he was so shell-shocked. He put his fingers in his ear, but his phone was still in his hand.
Okay, so now we have 2 different sides of the story. Erika says that Mikey called her within seconds, but Andrew Colvett here says that Mikey was not on his phone, but rather just putting his hands up to cover his ears from the loud noise. Some may see this as a small detail, a potential small lie, but what I'll say to that is people who tell small lies also tend to tell bigger lies at some point. So Mikey, we're going to want to see that call log.
Also from a previous video, Erika Kirk previously said that her phone had died and she had just left it off to die. One, your husband's on the road and your phone is on silent. Your phone is on silent. And the night before, she admitted that she didn't let him sleep in the bed with her. He left. They didn't say goodbye. She didn't kiss him. Remember, she wanted to go give him a kiss because she didn't that morning. But y'all still think that it's some great conspiracy that a government wanted to off him. And looking at that footage, does it look like Mikey is plugging his ears? Whatever is going on, the more I'm looking at things, I don't think that she was in on it. I think she's just using this moment for herself and she's making it up as she goes along. Whoever was a part of it, and I'm leaning right down towards financial improprieties and trying to cover that because it seems like it spanned multiple people. They haven't brought her into the fold to have an official narrative that they're going to run with. They're trying to cover their asses, and she's kind of messing it up for them. Now, it could be one of those situations because I can't remember, there was like a show that was on TV like in the 1990s where they were always catching spouses trying to hire hitmen to off their other one. Their spouse, and it would be like an undercover agent or whatever. And it's like, did she like wish ill will? Did she try to hire someone to rough him up or take him out? And she just thinks that her plan worked and it didn't? Like, were there 2 simultaneous attempts going on? I don't know. But here's our last video for tonight.
The family of Tyler Robinson, according to Candace Owens, does not believe that Tyler murdered Charlie Kirk. Tyler did not confess to the crime, and now they've been placed into witness protection. There is also more video casting doubt on what authorities gave us in the immediate aftermath of the shooting that you need to see. And this comes on the heels of another theory gaining traction by Dr. Chris Martenson of Peak Prosperity, who claims to have proven that Tyler Robinson could not have taken the kill shot. A lot to get through today. Let's get into it. I'm Zach Costello. Okay, so the narrative that we have been told is that Tyler Robinson's mother recognized him from the photos that the FBI released of the individual in the stairwell at UVU. His mother then told his father, who then called Tyler, talking him out of killing himself, and then consulted with a family friend in law enforcement, and they eventually convinced Tyler to turn himself in peacefully. What Candace Owens reveals here flips that completely on its head.
Of most interest to me, what I've learned is that his father does not believe, his parents don't believe that their son committed this crime. I was like, huh? Excuse me? That's a far cry from what the media has been telling us. Remember, the media presented this amazing story. The father realized his son was guilty, so it goes, right? And then he phoned over a friend to help him convince his son to turn himself in, because this guy, you know, this mysterious guy was a friend and just had a connection with Tyler. And eventually they said, you've got to do the right thing here. We know this is you. That was the vibe. Certainly that's what the media was putting down for us to pick up. Well, I was told actually that it was kind of the opposite. That quote unquote family friend, who we learned was a former detective with the police force, at least, and so therefore has strong ties with the police station, informed the family. It was that in-between person that informed the family that Tyler had been identified as the shooter. He recognized him. He knows Tyler. He gives them the heads up. And then I'm told, and I believe this, that the way in which he got arrested, or rather turned himself in, was because that family friend / neighbor / former detective told him, hey, it's best for you to turn yourself in because there's only one of two options here. Either you turn yourself in and everything is peaceable, or, you know, the SWAT team could come in here and arrest you and things would get crazy. So that's what happened. He went over to their house. Tyler was called over. Tyler was bewildered. He disputed the idea that he had murdered Charlie Kirk. In fact, according to my source, Tyler has never even stepped foot on UVU campus. The family says that the photo of the young man that is coming up the stairs, which was shared, that blurry image, is definitively not Tyler Robinson. And let me just say, I never thought it looked like him. Neither did you. Okay. Face looks different. Face looks more narrow. Also, that person looks taller. Every time I see, I'm like, this person is taller than Tyler Robinson. Tyler Robinson also appears to have full lips, even though this image is blurry. We're not looking for someone that got fuller lips. And Tyler Robinson looks broader than that individual walking, right? So I'm on board with that person walking up the stairs. It's not Tyler Robinson, because I feel like it was intentionally blurred. They also never gave us the footage at all, because in order to blur it, they probably needed a static image.
Now, from the beginning, I've had questions regarding Tyler and the story behind Tyler, because it just... One, when they were talking about him changing clothes, breaking down the gun to put the gun back together, to put the gun in a towel, the car being left behind, then the car being in the driveway, then the car not being in the driveway and being at Tyler's residence, which wasn't his parents' residence, and everything. It's weird. It's weird. And some people are saying, oh, well, they put Tyler's family into witness protection because of death threats, but where? All of the threats, all of the anger, all of the vigor has never really been on Tyler. It has been on people not mourning Charlie Kirk in a way that even people who weren't fans of his, that did not know of him until his death, they felt that, because, people should be losing their stuff and mourning him as if a pope died, as if a likable POTUS died, like he was Jimmy Earl. Former President Carter, for those of y'all that aren't familiar with Jimmy Earl. So yeah, it's weird. But my thing is, if it wasn't Tyler on the campus and he's never been to the campus and all this, how was he plucked out? Why was he plucked out to be the patsy? How did they find him? Yeah. Getting curiouser and curiouser. Now, tomorrow night, we will not be here to keep breaking down this conspiracy and going through the videos, but we will resume on Thursday. Tomorrow, you can click on the link in my bio for GCPR Radio. I will be a part of a wonderful, wonderful fundraiser for a dear friend of mine who goes by the tag of @SmokingHotMessJess on TikTok. We're raising money to get her to her beloved uncle's funeral. So if you would like to help, join us over there at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard, 8 p.m. Central Standard. We're having a Santa-thon with a bunch of elevated individuals. Everybody is taking on a Santa persona, so it's going to be a rocking good time. But as always, thank you for joining me here. And remember, each one teach one, each one reach one. Y'all be good out there.